Hi, my name is Christine Crum, and I am your host for ICAN. ICAN is a show dedicated to providing information to anyone who needs help. Help with what? Help with getting answers on where to go to get help with drug misuse, helping veterans find where they can go to get help, homelessness, and more. Once a month on this channel, we will take an hour to discover just what is really going on in our community. We will have interviews of people who can help and people who need help. We will discover all the stats, figures, and truth or fiction about drug, alcohol, and cigarettes. This is a program for not just adults, but kids too. We are all a part of this community, and we are all in this together. Welcome to ICAN, because I can make a difference, and so can you.
Open our hearts, free every soul. The fear inside, you must let it go. Oh, that monster, before it conquers you. Yeah, we all have demons, we fight every day. You get knocked down, but the bell hasn't rang, so keep going. Just stay focused when life seems hopeless. Before life passes you by, you must, like a bird with broken wings always. You've gotta reach for the stars. It might seem far. Ooh, don't stop. You gotta try. Oh, 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 you gotta try. Never stop dreaming, even away. Nothing can stop you from winning this race, so keep going. Just stay focused. Yeah, I am the tiger, I own the prize. Every storm is with the rainbow in the sky. You are golden. If no one else notices, don't stop, keep going. Before life passes you by, you must, like a bird with broken wings always. You gotta reach for the stars. It might seem far. Ooh, don't stop. You gotta try. Oh, 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 you gotta try. You gotta try. All you got to do is try. Oh, you gotta 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 try. You gotta try. All you got to do is try. You gotta try.
I think the biggest piece of advice I have for someone going through addiction or thinking about going to rehab is being honest with yourself. Don't be afraid to get help. I think that's the biggest stigma that we're trying to erase is don't be afraid to ask for help.
I'm going high! Ready, we're going at the same height.
I'm Wendilyn. I'm from Jefferson in Wisconsin, and I have 2 little girls who are 6, almost 7, and an 8-year-old. In 2011, when I filed for a divorce, I was a stay-at-home mom. I had no income, no job. I was a stay-at-home mom. I shouldn't say no job, I was taking care of kids. And I didn't have any bills in my name. My ex-husband, everything was in his name. You know, he was a good worker and everything. So I had nothing to fall back on. So going into a hotel was basically, that was it. Very tight living conditions, did what we could. A lot of our meals weren't really homemade, of course. With work and everything like that, rent was almost impossible to get anywhere. In December of 2012, I couldn't make ends meet anymore. I was financially unstable. I walked through CAC's doors and just had the world lifted off my shoulders completely. Gave me the hope that I absolutely needed to get back on my feet. Transitional housing is a program that I was on. There's several different programs that they have, but with my severity of my case that I was in, not having a job, not being able to financially budget, not being stable whatsoever, they thought that transitional housing would be best for me. Within about 2 weeks, I found an apartment that I absolutely loved, that it was affordable for me. It was a 2-bedroom apartment with a garage, you know, so that was kind of an extra. And it had all the space that my girls and I needed at the time. In that program, I had a caseworker named Jeremy who came out once a week, made sure that there was food in my house, made sure that my kids were okay, that I was okay. They made sure that my finances, you know, my bills were being paid, basically showing me what I needed to do to become stable again in the 2 years. In the program, you do little workshops, I guess you could say, once a month. And one of the workshops that really worked very well for me was learning how to budget. And it was a money workshop. And I didn't have an account, no bank account, spending my money like crazy. Didn't realize it. Jeremy had talked to me and told me to save every receipt on everything. He said, "This is nuts, really? Do I have to do this?" But I was able to see where my money was going, was able to get an account and learn how to properly budget where my money was going. Didn't know how to do that. With that being said, that program, just that little workshop helped me out so much to where I was able to save enough money to pay 6 months worth of rent. December 1st, 2014 is when I was off the program, and I paid 6 months worth of rent right up front. And then I was able to pay a little ahead on a few other things. My phone I paid for 6 months. I didn't want to go back down that road that I was. You know, not having money, living in the cold, living in a small hotel room. I didn't want that to happen towards me or my children ever again. So I made sure that I was financially stable for a long period of time. So I decided that it would be a good idea for me to go back to school. I'm currently a full-time student at MATC. I am in school currently for paralegal. My goal is to work for an attorney for a short period of time. In that period of time, though, I want to go back to school and get a law degree and become an attorney myself. That is my goal so far. I'm doing very, very well in school. I am on the dean's list. And this is, it's kind of a dream come true. I really love helping people in any possible way. and I will go to any extent that I can to help people, and I feel that this is the right avenue for me. CAC has helped in so many ways. They've took me where I had no self-esteem, no nothing, living in a hotel, to being a very successful person. I don't think I could have done it without them. CAC has helped to prove that I am much more. They gave me that hope, they gave me that dream, the drive that I want to become more, and I'm going after it now.
So today we're talking about homelessness and hunger and all the different resources that are available here in Jefferson County. And later in our show, we're going to talk to Amber Duddy, who is the Executive Director of the Community Action Coalition of South Central Wisconsin, talk about what her agency does about these issues. And we're talking about it in November because November 13th to the 21st is designated as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week throughout the nation. And each year, the National Coalition for Homelessness and the National Student Campaign Against Hunger and Homelessness designate this week. And this designation has been around for a number of years. But so Chris, this is a really important topic, really timely, because you know, if you're homeless at this time of year, it's very difficult, and you know, just not having enough food on your table is really hard any time of the year. But it is a really significant problem even here in Jefferson County. But I just want to tell you just the extent of the problem here in the U.S. And that is 43.1 million Americans live below the poverty level.
Wow.
549,000 Americans are homeless on a typical night. 42 million Americans are at risk of suffering from hunger, and 1 in 5 children in the U.S. live in poverty.
Have you ever really had to deal with anybody that's homeless?
Not really. I'm not really close to anyone who is homeless at this time.
See, that's the hard part for me. I don't know anybody either. You know, I see them walking down the street with their carts, but to interact with them, you don't know how to, you know, because if you know, a lot of them are out there panhandling. Some of them are panhandling and they don't need money. And they're out there making a living on panhandling. They make more money than they would working. So that makes it hard for the people that actually need the money.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of issues, you know, around mental health and, you know, how that goes along with homelessness too. And so we don't really know what someone's situation is necessarily, but you know, we probably have, you know, encountered people who are homeless, and that doesn't mean that they're living on the street, but maybe they're, you know, living in their cars, or they're living with a friend or a family member, and that could be considered homeless as well, or living in a motel.
Yeah. And I'm sure that this time of year the crime level goes up too, because get in trouble, at least if you get in jail, you have 2 hots and a cot. So you have a warm bed and food. And that's sad to think of.
Yeah, so I know we showed this video of Wendilyn here in Jefferson County, and I thought it was such an inspirational you know, story of how she sort of overcame her situation, being a single parent and having kids and then staying in the motel. And you know, I just love that story because through the Community Action Coalition's assistance and just with her own motivation and drive, you know, she was able to figure out her finances and get, you know, a really nice apartment. And so I suggest, yeah, everyone go to the CAC website, because there's a couple other success stories on there too, for people who are struggling with being homeless, and then they, with the help of CAC, were able to overcome that. So I'm glad we were able to show that to you. I want to share some, do you want to share some more information about just how homelessness and
Well, since
food
COVID,
shortage-
it's impacted people's ability to work and people losing their income. People have been evicted from their homes due to inability to pay rent because of COVID. So I'm sure that's increased the homelessness in the area.
or people
some-
not being able to go to work because maybe they were sick or taking care of
Yeah.
small children, you know, who couldn't go to school. So there's so many reasons why someone
And
couldn't
according
go to
to
work.
the Kaiser Family Foundation, about half of the adults nationwide have reported negative mental health impacts during the pandemic. So if your health isn't, I mean, your mental health is impacted, how can you, you know, keep going on forward with other aspects of your life if your mind isn't set right?
Yeah.
Now, with your Jefferson Drug Coalition, have you noticed more homelessness within the drug awareness that you deal with?
Well, I mean, I just know, you know, anecdotally that, you know, Jefferson County, you know, people are experiencing more homelessness than they were before, and the pandemic has really made it worse. So, yeah, there's just, like you said, a lot of issues with people who aren't able to work or, you know, have lost their jobs, or, you know, just the pandemic has really, you know, been really hard on businesses as well, and a lot of places having to close and such. So it's been a tough time for families, definitely. But hopefully, when we talk to Amber, you know, she'll give us some good
I hope
news about that and where people can get help for housing and, you know, transitional housing programs, and maybe talk to her about help for veterans as well.
Yeah, and hopefully, I don't know if we have a homeless shelter in the area, so maybe we can find that out from her, and, you know, hopefully we can find a lot of information in our second half.
Yes, yes. And I know I'm going to bring this up with her, but the Community Action Coalition has a resource. It is the how-to guide, and it looks like this, and it has all the different shelters in the area, although there aren't any shelters per se in Jefferson County. They would have to go slightly outside of Jefferson County, but there are low-income housing resources in here, as well hotel options, and then just phone numbers to call for information about housing, food pantries, and meal sites. Also, I wanted to mention too, before I forget, that there is a really great resource for families. I think it's called Christmas Neighbors.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, where people can get presents for their kids, and I think that's going on now, but I will put that on the website too.
Oh,
but
that's
there is
nice.
a phone number to call, and it's also in here. So there's a website for the Community Action Coalition, and this how-to guide is all in there. So I would want
Amy, what do
people
you think we can do
go
as a
there.
community to help the homeless? What do you think we could do?
So, well, first of all, I was thinking more around just food distribution. I think you can definitely, you know, donate to food pantries, but you can also volunteer your time at any of the events where they're distributing food, or, you know, your local church, like that. I know that there are some churches that are able to house folks, you know, temporarily.
Well, that's cool.
The Homeless Coalition of Fort Atkinson does take in people who live in Fort Atkinson and who are at risk for homelessness too. And for people with substance use disorders, for women especially, there is a sober living home in Fort Atkinson.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it's called the Dave Gallup House. And so that is a great resource. And I believe there is a women's sort of housing location here in Watertown as
Yes,
well.
I've heard of it, but I don't remember what it's called.
I think it's called House of Peace, and
House of Peace?
I will put the website and the phone number to that location. But I believe it's for women and children, and maybe who are at risk of being in a domestic violence situation. And so, yeah, certainly people can, donate to organizations that are doing this type of work, and volunteering if they can. So, but just if they know someone who is homeless, share some of these resources with them.
Yeah. And then also in December, and I'm not sure if it's on Christmas Day or not, the Watertown Elks has a Christmas dinner, and they have it at the lodge, and then they also deliver. So I'll have that information on the website also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do that every year. And then in Beaver Dam, they have a Christmas basket program too, the lodge there.
Oh, okay.
And they deliver Christmas baskets.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Rob Raddick is the guy that handles that, and I'll get the information and have that at the end of the show too.
That sounds really good. I didn't bring the flyer to Ruby's Pantry, but that one it's the fourth Wednesday of the month at the Jefferson County Fair Park.
And then there's one in Lebanon also.
Oh, is there? Okay,
yeah,
so if you're kind of closer to that location, then
and
you
I
could
think
go
that
there.
one's on Tuesdays.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
and I don't believe you have to show, proof of residence or anything
No, you
like
don't.
that.
You don't.
And even with the food pantries, I think they're very relaxed about that. I don't think you have to show
No, you don't
that
have
you
to
live
show.
in the community. You can just
You tell them
you
how
can
many
just go
people
there,
in the family.
and things
yeah.
like that. But yeah, but Ruby's Pantry, yes, slightly different from other pantries. I do believe it's like maybe $20
It went up.
donation
It's going
or
up
something.
next month to 25.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And you do get quite a bit of food.
Yeah,
Quite a bit of food.
unfortunately, the only problem with Ruby's Pantry is a lot of it's junk food.
Oh,
It's like chips and stuff like that. It isn't, so
Not a
it's
lot
good to add from the other shelters, because the other
Oh.
pop-up pantries usually have fresh vegetables and milk and fruit. So you could add to that, but yeah.
Okay. Well, good to know. I mean, I know the one that I went to, they did have potatoes and corn, and that was sort of what was in season. But yeah, who knows? They might not have as much of the produce as maybe some of the
Right
other
now,
pantries,
yeah.
or the dairy maybe.
Yeah.
But
The only
But
other
it's-
thing I suggest is when you do get food from the pantry, check the dates, because sometimes the food is expired.
oh, okay.
And depending on what the product is, you can still eat it, but there are some items that I've gotten vegetables that were moldy, and so you got to kind of take the good with the bad.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So hopefully, yeah, they're checking on the quality of their products
Yeah.
to make sure they're not expired in that. But yeah, we'll post all this information on this episode's, the end of the episode.
And so we will come back shortly with the other half, and thank you for being.
Community Action Coalition is doubling its food delivery capacity. The nonprofit bought 2 new refrigerator trucks to help keep up with demand for food during the pandemic. The trucks will be used to deliver to food pantries in Dane, Jefferson, and Waukesha counties.
I am so privileged and happy and thrilled. I think that the point of today is just absolute joy and celebrating our ability to stay safe and actually get food out faster and more efficient to our partners. It really means a lot.
The trucks were purchased with a grant from the Department of Agriculture and donations from the United Way, the Pedaling Foundation, and Goodman Foundation.
So welcome back, everyone. So Chris and I, we were just talking about Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week in our last segment, and right now we have a guest with us, and this is Amber Duddy. She is the Executive Director of the Community Action Coalition of South Central Wisconsin, and I would just like to say thank you so much for coming on today, and would you tell us more about your organization and how you serve residents here in Jefferson County?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, great question. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So Community Action Coalition is kind of our slang that we say, because our name is very long, as you've seen, but we've been around since 1966. So we were actually started out of the Johnson administration's war on poverty, and we are still fighting that war. And so really the goal of our agency is to serve Dane, Jefferson, and Waukesha County and really fill the gaps wherever is needed in the community to help end poverty.
So yeah, I know I've talked to you in the past, and kind of how you summed it up is, you provide the services that really make people feel whole. So that not only includes, help with housing, but issues with like food shortages, and then also with events like the Winter Glow, where you give away coats and things like that, which we'll talk about later. But so I know, we're kind of, at the tail end of like the pandemic. I mean, we're still kind of in it, but it was really hard on people in 2019, 2020, and I mean, so our people in Jefferson County, in your experience, they're going through some tough times yet, do you think, with housing?
Oh, absolutely. With housing especially, we're just seeing that there's not a lot of folks kind of leaving their rentals, and so there's even fewer housing options for folks. So right now across the county, we've seen about a 10% increase in demand for housing that doesn't quite meet the number of affordable housing units available in the county.
Okay.
Are people using the food pantries more than they were before?
Yeah, across the board it's doubled. So the number of people that we're seeing in terms of emergency shelter, so putting individuals and families up in emergency motel vouchers, the number of pounds of food that we as CAC, as a food bank, are distributing to all the local pantries across Jefferson County, truly across the board, the numbers doubled immediately in March of 2019, and they have stayed that high to date. So people are still really struggling to get back on their feet and recover with the pandemic.
And is there enough food coming in to fill all these food pantries? Is it still being provided by the government or different agencies? What kind of agencies provide the food for the pantries?
That's such a good question, and it's actually something that a lot of people get kind of nervous about. But in the U.S., we have so much food, and so really, even with the supply chain issues, we are not seeing issues related to the amount of food. So the USDA typically gives food directly to food banks like CAC. So we, in a typical pre-pandemic year, we're seeing about 2 million pounds of food that we would then take out to all the food pantries or feeding agencies or shelters across the 3 counties, and we deliver it and do all that for free because it's just part of our mission. There's other kind of food banks out there that charge by pound, but we're a little different. Currently, we're looking at about 5 million pounds of food that are going out across about 120 different pantries and networks. So huge amount of food increase. We're also still kind of collecting food as well. So we do food drives where we collect food and people donate it, which is incredible. We work a lot with the post office, but during the pandemic, those bags for hunger have been kind of put to the side for a bit, and folks have been going on the post office website and donating. We also do something called gleaning. So gleaning is where we work with restaurants or like large businesses or producers or farmers, and if they have too much food, instead of taking it to a landfill, they take it to CAC and at our food bank, and we redistribute that really, really quickly across different networks, especially, like a quick trip hot sandwich, it's good for one more day. We will take those right to a shelter or right to a church that's providing shelter. So we're still moving about 1 million pounds of gleaned food across the system as well. So that's still kind of keeping up, which is really great because we weren't sure, right? Like it's been so dynamic that we weren't sure about that, but still the numbers are really high, the food is out there, and the USDA purchases food for food banks about 6 months before we get it. So we know that even for the next 6 months, we're gonna have a lot more food.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's super important as we're coming into the winter months. I mean, really any time of the year, but the holidays are coming up, so if people are feeling generous, they might give more to food pantries and to food banks. But I wanted to go to a news story now and just to share a little bit more about your food distribution program.
And then we'll be right back.
Okay, so that was a really great story. It kind of, you have some new trucks and a new distribution center, and so that's really exciting. There's just so much need in all the counties that you work with as far as like meeting the need for food shortages. So how do people access food in Jefferson County? And I know I have the Where to Find guide, but what do you recommend that people do?
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is to call 211 and be able to find something really close to home. Some people like to use our Where to Find guide, which is on our website, or 211, and they can actually get a whole list of pantries in your area. So as Jefferson County, we're actually really lucky. We have a lot of wonderful food pantries and feeding sites and Ruby's Pantry. There's just so many kind of creative options for folks. So those would be the best place to go. And we really are kind of behind the scenes. So we're the ones that are purchasing at wholesale or delivering that USDA commodity food directly to the pantries to make sure their shelves are always stocked. So people should not be concerned about accessing, those doors are still open, and lines are typically more related to like COVID precautions. So just keeping people like socially distanced. There has been no issues with food demand and distribution here in Wisconsin.
Okay, that's really good to hear. I do have a copy of the Where to Find guide, which lists all the different resources for food, housing, community supports in Jefferson County. And you can find this on their website, which we'll list, and we'll list the phone number 211 and other phone numbers as well. But what's great about this is, like Amber was saying, not only are there pantries, all over Jefferson County, but then there's just community meal sites. And what's not on here is maybe like what you're saying, some of the pop-up type of
Yeah, there's a lot
meal
of pop-up
distribution. And there's also churches, maybe your local church would have some kind of distribution, especially around the holidays and things like that. So it's a good idea to kind of look at other sources, but that's a really nice guide.
In our first half, I mentioned that the elderly are having the hardest time of getting to the doctors and stuff like that because of the pandemic. How does Jefferson County help with that?
Yeah, there's a lot of resources for older individuals. One of the unique programs CAC actually does is we have a program called Senior Boxes.
Oh.
So we have monthly or bi-monthly, people could get them weekly even, food boxes that we can actually have delivered to an individual's address, or folks can pick it up monthly at a pantry or kind of work with like a neighbor to pick it up. So there's lots of different options where we're doing direct delivery, which is really great. But then we also have other kind of supports. So right now in Jefferson County, there's funding for rental assistance. So if I am a senior and I'm renting, basically anyone who's been impacted by the pandemic. So if you had to buy a mask, you've been impacted by the pandemic financially, according to the U.S. Treasury. And so you can actually go and get rental assistance or other kind of supports depending on your income. So there's a lot available right now to everyone in Jefferson County, but especially seniors who tend to have a lot more challenges accessing different kinds of services.
And evictions have been happening quite often. How is there programs for that also?
Yeah, so there's so many eviction prevention programs. So I think we had a really great opportunity for the last 18 months or so where there was an eviction moratorium put out by the Centers for Disease Control. What the moratorium did is it prevented individuals from actually getting evicted, but that has been lifted. And so if folks were unable to pay their rent or unable to pay their rent fully maybe, there are monies available for up to 12 months of rental assistance back owed. So you can go back if there were, parking fees or internet or energy, all of those kind of things can be back owed, and that's through Energy Services. So it's a quick online application. They also have a call center that's open to help folks who might need a little bit extra support or maybe aren't super comfortable with a computer. So that's available at Community Action Coalition for individuals who maybe are in the process of getting evicted or are experiencing other issues. We have a number of support prevention eviction services as well, because from our perspective, we would rather not have people get to that point of homelessness, but really be able to get services before that, so that way, you know, you can stay in that home. The other thing that's really challenging with evictions is that once you have that on your record, like some people aren't used to that. And so once it's on your record, it's so much harder to find someone to lease to you and different things like that. And so our goal as the Community Action Coalition is really to prevent those evictions, to keep people's ability to find housing easier, so they're paying lower rates, so we can help kind of work with landlords or have conversations. But really that energy services is a huge resource. 12 months of back rent is just huge.
You'll provide us with that information so we can add it at the end? Okay,
yeah,
great.
it's huge. And there's millions and millions available. So people should not be worried. I think there's still over $250 million available.
And none of that has
Wisconsin.
to be paid back?
None of it has to be paid back. So you just need a lease and your landlord's leisure, and you complete an online application, and it's pretty quick.
That's good to know. People need to know that.
Yeah, it's huge.
So energy services, we'll provide the phone number or a website link to that so people can access that. But yeah, that's so important to work on prevention so that they don't get to that point. You know, I know.
And then the other people that are having struggling is veterans.
Yeah.
Is there services through the CAC for veterans?
Yeah, so we work really closely with the Veterans Administration, and we have a program called Safe and Supportive Veterans and Families. So we basically have a program that if you're an eligible veteran, so you've served or you went through basic training, and you're at risk of getting eviction or are struggling with kind of any housing related issue, and you're low income. So there's some kind of requirements related to it, but you can come to CAC. We assign you a caseworker, so somebody who's there with you to support. We can provide security deposit. We can provide a third of your rent for the next 2 years, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then we really try to advocate with our team to figure out ways to help you long term. So we can get folks into VA vouchers for permanent housing. We can get them rolled in different benefits. So the VA has actually really stepped up during the pandemic and provided a ton of supports. In terms of kind of like growth of programs, we went from basically quadrupling the amount of veteran services we currently have.
Awesome.
So we have, support for putting folks up in motel vouchers if they're homeless, just to make sure that they can self-contain and not have to, basically be at risk of getting COVID. We can drive people directly to their doctor's appointments. So it really is a holistic program that is just incredible. And our team is just amazing. Like our
awesome.
veteran team is just, they're a hoot, and they do a really good job working with veterans, and they understand kind of the challenges that they've had.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it's great to have those wraparound services too.
Yeah, because I know for the longest time there wasn't help for veterans, and we've come a long way since then.
Yeah, we really have, and we work really closely with the VA here, who's also really concerned, about like predatory loans, right? So if you're a veteran and you're, really struggling to kind of pay your bills, sometimes you do like a payday advance or something like that, and people get in difficult situations because there's like a 25% interest
higher than
rate.
that. It's like 48%.
It's huge, and so the VA here is actually doing this innovative thing where they're trying to actually provide small loans to kind of meet that need, so that way folks don't have that crazy interest rate that they have to pay back.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Good to know. So prior to this, we showed the story of Wendilyn. She's a Jefferson County person, and I think it was recorded a few years ago, but she was a success story as she used your services. And what really struck me about that is, it is really hard for people to come up with a security deposit and first month's rent. I mean, it's a lot to have to save, and so it was a struggle for her, and she had to, stay in a motel for a while. And I thought it was really inspirational how you're able to work with her and others to help budget and kind of get them on the right road, with that transitional program that you have. So
We should have her talk about the Winter Glow program, because
Oh
that's
yeah,
really
yes,
important.
yes. So what I really like is that you're also moving in this direction of just, providing people with different kind of supports when they come to you. You're also offering, information about health and wellness, and then now you have what used to be called Coats for Kids is now called Winter Glow, and you're going to be really making a presence here in Jefferson County with that, which is, providing kids with, just clothing that they need so they can play outside. But then we're also, the health department's also going to do vaccines, and I think some other community organizations are going to be there too to provide information about their resource. So tell us about that event that's coming up.
Yeah, one of kind of the big shifts of Community Action Coalition has been really the way that we think about serving the community. And we've really spent a lot of time as a board and as an agency thinking like, how do we really embrace and welcome people to spaces and create kind of an atmosphere where we're not competing with other nonprofits or groups trying to do really good work. And so what we want to do is actually just bring everyone together and have kind of this warm winter glow, you kind of like see yourself with a hot cider or cocoa, like just kind of that warm feel. And our kind of reason to come together is this idea of stopping the shiver, right? So thinking about how do we get individuals access to really great local programs? How do we connect folks to area resources, whether they're veteran or not, and how do we get folks warm winter jackets, because it's already cold. Like, it's cold today already, right?
I know, yeah.
So this is just a really cool program that we've been doing for 36 years under the umbrella of Coats for Kids. And so we've given out over 300,000 coats, winter jackets, so either new or lightly used. They've all been to the dry cleaners, and so they're on beautiful hangers, and just they're great. And what we do is we kind of set up these huge kind of racks, and people can bring their kids or of any age and kind of come and pick out a winter jacket, meet some other community partners, sign up for services, get like household good cleaning boxes. Like, we've got kind of this whole wraparound support, vaccines even. Like, we're just trying to make it like the one-stop shop where folks can come together, be part of a community, feel that connection, feel that glow. And so we have 2 events in Jefferson County, which we're super excited about. Emmanuel Lutheran Church here in Watertown decided to go ahead and host us for free, which is just incredible. So they're actually one of the pantry sites that we really like too. So they're on 9th Street in Watertown, and we're gonna be there on November 12th from 1 to 7 p.m. And then we worked with our friends over in Fort Atkinson, so we'd have kind of one location on either side of the expressway. And they said the Country Inn Hotel was like the place to have these types of community events.
Okay.
So I'm super excited about it. It's a really neat space. And so that's on Doris Drive in Fort Atkinson. And we'll be there on Sunday, November 14th from 1 to 7 p.m.
Okay,
So, you can pre-register on our website just to make your process faster, or just show up. There's no restrictions. You don't have to prove any documentation. Just show up, come hang out with us. There's going to be lots of goodies and lots of really great people. So we're just going to have a blast. So if you want to volunteer or join us, there's
I'll
lots
be
of
there.
space.
Sort of like a warm hug for the community.
Yes. Where people feel very included. And what I forgot to mention is, you have coats for adults too. It's not just for kids. I know it was called Coats for Kids, but now really you have coats in all different sizes, and I think hats and mittens and snow pants and things like that. And also I wanted to mention, I think you're gonna have food distribution too. Is that right? A pop-up food tent?
Yeah, so speaking of like extra food, like we've got so much food coming in from the USDA and that we've purchased. There have been like Premier Bank provides grants so we can purchase extra special things. So we're gonna have these great food boxes available, and then we're also gonna have these kind of like home good boxes. So we'll have like shampoo and conditioner and cleaning supplies, and so we're hoping to have about 100 or so of each of those available. So they might go kind of quick, but we're gonna have volunteers pack them and be able to just give those out and really celebrate the amazing things the community has done.
That is great. That is great. Isn't that
A question I have is, up in Superior, that we had what was called warming centers. Do we have those here?
We do. So there are a handful of churches that
Okay.
act as warming centers. I think there is one in Watertown and one in Fort Atkinson. But we're actually an interesting community in terms that we don't actually have a homeless shelter in the county at all. And so because of that, Community Action does a lot of the coordinated entry or support for referrals for anyone kind of experiencing homelessness. So if you're looking for a warming shelter, you're welcome to give us a call and we can kind of connect to what's open that day or what's close to you. Or we can try to figure out ways to support as well.
Okay. So there really is no homeless shelter in the area.
No, there's none in the county.
That's kind of,
Yeah.
do you know the numbers of homeless people in the area?
Yeah, so we typically would reach about 1,000 households for the county in a typical year. So it's really kind of a tricky thing to assess because some people are kind of doubling up in sharing rooms. You have young people who might be couch surfing or adults who are couch surfing. We also do this thing called the point in time where we go around to places that we know people tend to like camp out or sleep in their car, and we try to assess and kind of get a point in time count of that. But we do know those numbers are growing. Again, you know, you're seeing this increase in young people and families and veterans. So yeah, we definitely maintain as many people calling us and reporting their situation to us as possible. So we imagine it's about 1,000 households a year right now in Jefferson County.
And do you think that's increased since the pandemic, or?
It's definitely increased across the board. And it's kind of this weird, like, you have the eviction moratorium ending, you have the housing shortage and the lack of affordable housing, and then you just kind of have like natural growth and trends. So we've seen homelessness increase pretty
That's scary.
consistently since the recession.
That's scary.
Yeah, so I know I live in Dane County, and it seems like, yeah, more and more I see people out in the streets or in the parks and things like that. So it is really, it's going to be really hard because it's getting so cold now, and so hopefully people will find the resources they need, and if needed, maybe find a friend or someone to stay with. But so I want to thank you so much, Amber, for being on today and sharing with us all these different resources. And I know we have lots of different phone numbers and websites that we can send people to, and they can access the services that are offered here in Jefferson County around food and housing, other community supports. So thank you so much.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to? Or
Yeah, is there anything else that you want people in Jefferson County to know about?
Yeah, there's this weird rumor that we left. We haven't left. So I would say that's really important to know. We have about 8 staff working across the county. Most folks have been working remote through the pandemic, but we do actually have staff available for walk-in support services at the Workforce Development Center in Jefferson. And we're really excited. Next year, we're going to be moving in with a number of other agencies to one location. So we were going to also have a new opening in Watertown as well. So
awesome.
We haven't gone anywhere. We are still here. We are still supporting you.
Yeah, we've got to dispel that myth. I'm not sure how that gets started. Yeah, but hopefully people will see this and then.
In the area that you provide, what has the largest homelessness?
Oh, out of the 3 communities? Easily Madison in the Dane County region, likely just because it's really close to the hospitals, to the VA. So you have kind of this natural place where people are going for services and kind of hanging out there, and just the population center is a little bit higher. But even across all 3 counties, like the length of time to get into housing, the availability of housing, and that increase. And I think because it takes so much longer to get housing now because of the pandemic, I think that's what's creating like this growing group of people who are really struggling to find housing.
Okay, all right. Well, we thank you so much for everything your group does and for you being here today. And it's just amazing the information that's out there that nobody knows about. And now hopefully we'll help provide
yeah,
that.
hopefully people
But we'll
will
provide
watch.
all the information you'll give us, and we'll put it all on the end of the show. And thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you,
This has been
Amber.
fun. Cheers.
Emmy, you want to tell us what's going up for next month?
Yes, so for next month, we're going to be talking about substance use recovery. So we'll have an airing of this movie. It's a documentary of a young man who was struggling with an opioid use disorder, and we'll have someone who is recovering and how to stay in recovery during the holidays, and then we'll have a family member of someone who is struggling with a substance use disorder. So we'll share some insight from Kimberly, and it'll be a really great show for December. So
Thanksgiving is a tough time for everybody, even
yeah.
those that aren't homeless. So give your loved ones hugs, give the homeless person a hi, and if you can help them out, help them out. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
See you next time.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Open our hearts, free every soul. The fear inside, you must let it go. Oh, that monster, before it conquers you. Yeah, we all have demons, we fight every day. You get knocked down, but the bell hasn't rang, so keep going. Just stay focused when life seems hopeless. Before life passes you by, you must, like a bird with broken wings always. You've gotta reach for the stars. It might seem far. Ooh, don't stop. You gotta try. Oh, 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 you gotta try. Never stop dreaming, even away. Nothing can stop you from winning this race, so keep going. Just stay focused. Yeah, I am the tiger, I own the prize. Every storm is with the rainbow in the sky. You are golden. If no one else noticed, don't stop, keep going. Before life passes you by, you must, like a bird with broken wings always. You gotta reach for the stars. It might seem far. Ooh, don't stop. You gotta try. Oh, 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 you gotta try. You gotta try. All you got to do is try. Oh, you gotta 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 try. You gotta try. All you got to do is try. You gotta try.
I think the biggest piece of advice I have for someone going through addiction or thinking about going to rehab is being honest with yourself. Don't be afraid to get help. I think that's the biggest stigma that we're trying to erase is don't be afraid to ask for help.